Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and we are at Media Row, not covering the Super Bowl necessarily, but we're here to make some connections, meet some good people. So the show that's coming up for you all today is 6 trades that the Raiders could make in round 1 after pick 13. So we talk so much about, hey, how can the Raiders get up into the top 3? Let's talk about it now from a different standpoint. What if there's a situation where another team wants to trade up with Las Vegas to get their 13th pick? Raiders can stockpile back up a little bit. Or you could take that pick 44 that the Raiders have, and then you try to move up into the back end of the first round. So today, we're looking at trade back candidates and trade up candidates in the back of round 1. And have you heard the whole, there's no way the Raiders are going to trade up into the top 3? If you've heard it, well, then I figured I'd make this version of a video. So if you don't know what the NFL draft order is, we're going to roll through this one rather quickly. And if you don't know, Chugs and I, we're going to be live for the entire 2024 NFL draft here on the Raiders Report. So it's a good opportunity here to hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and for every single pick, we will announce it. We'll be able to break it down, and we will get the picks before you see them on television. So just friendly reminder out there to hit that subscribe button and join Jeremy and I for our awesome NFL draft coverage. So the trades that you're going to see, the way that I'm going to do this is first, we're going to look at the teams that the Raiders could trade back with. And when I say trade back, this isn't a situation where the Raiders are like, hey, who wants our pick? This is a situation where there's somebody on the board and one of the teams behind the Raiders is like, that's the guy that I want. They trade up, and if you're Las Vegas, you're going to probably end up taking best player available anyway, and there's a lot of dudes from like 13 to 28 in my rankings that I could absolutely see the Raiders going with. So I do think it's important to note if the Raiders do end up trading back, they've received a great offer and don't love the players on the board. Like, you're not just going to trade back for the sake of just trading back. If you got a great offer, first-year GM with Tom Telesco here in Las Vegas, like, you're going to try to take advantage and try to build this team. So let's go to the trade back candidates. The first one that I see that could potentially happen is the Jacksonville Jaguars at pick number 17. And a lot of the times when I think about, all right, who could potentially be a team that decides to make that move up, you got to see a team that may be a little bit desperate. And considering the fact of the way that Jacksonville's season ended, I could see them being a pretty aggressive team. So with Josh Allen, he's a free agent. Could you potentially want an edge? Are you looking for somebody like a Jared Verse? Are you looking for somebody like a Dallas Turner? Maybe one of those guys slide down to pick 13, and Jacksonville goes, shit, like, we got to go up and get this guy. Calvin Ridley, free agent in Jacksonville, needs to be able to figure out a way to replace him. Like, you need to be able to have more wide receiver talent for your guy in Trevor Lawrence. What if Roman Dunze, Malik Neighbors starts sliding down the board? You slide up there into pick 13, and I do see Jacksonville being that aggressive team this offseason, considering the fact of just how much of a disaster their final 8 games of the season was. You go being from first place in your division to not even making the playoffs and basically a snap of a finger, that team seems like it's going to be aggressive. So my question to you is this. We always talk about trading up, trading back, I feel like every single year. But will the Raiders stay at number 13 and make a pick, or are they going to trade it? So if you think that they're going to trade the pick, type T for trade. If you think they're going to make the pick, type M for make. And if you're looking for Chugs' fact of the day, the Las Vegas Raiders have never drafted anybody at 13. They've never had pick 13. So let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments. Let's go to the next trade back candidate here. I'm going to go with number 18 on the board. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals, to me, are going to be a team that probably feels like that they lost a year with the injury to Joe Burrow. And what does that mean? Aggressiveness. They're losing T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. And with a lot of talented receivers on the board, just kind of like what I explained with Jacksonville and Calvin Ridley, if you're Cincinnati, you got to be able to figure out how to replace 2 very good receivers on your team. Yeah, I've been watching Jamar Chase. He's been walking all around here at Media Row. He's your number 1, but you still need to find a number 2. You need to find a number 3. Jonah Williams, he's a free agent at right tackle. And I talked to Jermaine Illuminor, the Bengals fans. Man, they've been really, really coming after Jermaine. Jermaine said to me personally that he wouldn't mind the idea, obviously, playing with Burrow, but doesn't really think that that's going to be where he ends up going. So with wide receiver and offensive tackle depth being so strong in this year's class, especially early on in the 2024 draft, the Bengals are a team that they know they can't F around and find out. You need to be able to go out. Your Super Bowl window is every single year with Burrow, and if there's a tackle that slides that you like, if there's a receiver that slides down the board, I can see the Bengals being aggressive and going up. and trying to get a deal. I did want to show you all the trade ideas. I was going to say, Chugs and I, it's a little bit of a different setup here for us. But the first trade that I showed y'all earlier with Jacksonville was this is what it would be in terms of cost. The Raiders would get pick 17. You'd get a third-round pick at 96 overall and then a fourth-round pick at 115. Jags would get number 13. For the Bengals trade idea, this is what it would cost. So the Bengals would receive pick 13, and then they'd get one of our seventh-round picks at 220. And then the Raiders get your first-round pick at 18, third-round pick at 80, and then edge rusher Joseph Asai, who was a dude that I liked. I believe was drafted at 68 overall. Last year went to Texas, and he's just buried on that depth chart. I know, you got some players there creating situations, but Cincinnati, this is the deal. And if you're ever wondering, like, Mitch, how do you come up with these trades? From people that I talk to here at Media Row, on top of the NFL trade value chart, you can see how much, like, picks are kind of worth. Before I show you any more deals, though, I got an awesome one for you right now. Shout out to today's sponsor, Prize Picks. And there's a lot of Raider fans out there. Mitch, I don't want to watch the big game. I don't want to watch the Niners. I don't want to watch Chiefs. How about this? Go to Prize Picks, and all you got to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS for a $100 deposit match, and you could pick more or less on a dude. Like, if you want to go with my picks, this is what I recommend. I got $20 down. I got a chance to win $200, and I'm going to be rooting for Brock Purdy to get 12 rushing yards. I'm going to be rooting for Mahomes to have a passing yard, which I'm pretty confident in that one. Kyle Juszczyk to catch a ball. I'm going to be confident in, Isaiah Pacheco trying to get a rushing touchdown. If you're like, I don't want to root for either team, then root for a player. And I think that this is what's really cool about Prize Picks. And you have an opportunity to win a little bit of money. So one more time here, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS, and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Let's go to another trade-back candidate here for the Silver and Black. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. And you want to talk about aggressive? The Philadelphia Eagles are arguably the most aggressive team out there, and that's because of their general manager, Howie Roseman, who, to me, is one of the best in the biz. And Howie's never afraid to make a deal. And if there's somebody on the board that he thinks, like, hey, like, this is our guy, let's make it happen. I will say that I'm a believer that A.J. Brown could be traded this offseason, and if he is traded this offseason, you're looking at another team that you got to be able to replace what the Eagles had. And there's been a lot of conversations around the Eagles just totally falling off the cliff, which then results in them trying to be aggressive this year and trying to take care of that window, because there's a lot of Eagles fans out there. Hell, I bet there's some Eagles fans, players, whoever, are like, did we give Jalen Hurts a bad contract? So to me, Philly, if they see a receiver on the board at 13, could be a team that says, that's going to be a guy we're going to go up. We need to be able to make sure Jalen Hurts has the most talent possibly around him. So the deal to go from 13, where the Raiders then are, they drop back to pick number 22, that would also mean that you're going to get pick number 50. Now, Philadelphia does have 2 picks in the second round, which makes me even more confident that they could be a team that's pretty aggressive and tries to go up and get a guy if they like. So to me, trade idea number 3 here, Raiders get 22 and 50. Philadelphia gets pick 13. I love this trade idea overall. So out of the trade back candidates, I want to know which one was your favorite. Like, which one out of all those you're like, dude, this one would be stellar for the Silver and Black. If it was the first trade idea, I want you to type those ones down below. If it's the second idea that I showed you around the Cincinnati Bengals, then type 2. If it's your third idea around the Philadelphia Eagles, I want you to type 3. Out of all these, I'll always go with the one that I feel like I'm getting the best deal on, and to me, that's Philadelphia. If you're able to add that extra second-round pick, that really, really helps bolster Tom Telesco, and you get to see what he's able to do. Coming up next here, 3 teams to trade up with to get a quarterback. Plan A for the Raiders is to figure out a way to get Jayden Daniels. However, if they know that they're not going to be able to get him, I have heard from multiple people here and people before I was here that the Tom Telesco, Pierce, one of the other quarterbacks that they have been keeping their eye on is Oregon's Bo Nix. So if you miss on Jayden, you sign a QB in free agency, could you potentially then trade up from the second round and get into the back half of the first? So I do think if the Raiders were to do this, you're only going to end up getting a quarterback. Like, you're not going to trade up in the back half of the second to not take a QB. That doesn't make any sense. And if it were to happen, it would be Bo. Though, I did have a quick opportunity to talk to Michael Penix Jr. I was like, hey, Michael, would you be down for the Raiders? And he said he'd be good with that. All right, so let's talk about some trade-up candidates here. We're going to look at the Los Angeles Rams at pick number 19. And this would be, you're going to have to give up quite a bit to go up from 44 all the way up to 19. Luckily, it doesn't usually cost as much, or it doesn't cost as much to do it. And if you're wondering, well, Mitch, why the hell would the Rams trade back all the way to pick 44? The Rams haven't been afraid to trade their first-round picks. In fact, the last time the Rams had a first-round pick was 2016 with Jared Goff, which is freaking mind-blowing to me. And this could be one of those deals where maybe you do have to give up a starter, like maybe you have to give up an extra player. But to me, if Las Vegas wants to get a quarterback, a team that they would have to jump in front of is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who pick at pick 20. And yeah, Pittsburgh's going to lose Mason Rudolph. You still have Kenny Pickett. There's a lot of things up in the air. What if the Steelers want a guy like Bo? What if the Steelers want a guy like Michael Penix Jr.? The Raiders, I think, in that situation would say, all right, that's definitely a need for them. I'm going to go up, and I'm going to try to get my guy. So if you're wondering what the trade looks like, it would look like this. Raiders get pick number 19. The Rams receive 44-77, and then a 2025 second-round pick. I will also admit that 2025 second could be a potential, like, starting caliber player. And, again, we're talking about a legit player that helps the Rams compete. You're not trading Max. You're not trading Devontae. After that, though, man, I think almost every other option could potentially be on the table. Let's go to another trade-up candidate here. It's the Green Bay Packers at pick number 25. If you're Las Vegas, you have to look at teams that could potentially be taking a quarterback, and then you go, all right, I'm going to go up, and I'm going to try to get a deal done. The reason why I have the Raiders potentially trading up with Green Bay, and to me why it makes sense, is you got to jump in front of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because what happens if there's a scenario? I do think that Baker ends up going back to Tampa Bay. We had an opportunity to talk to Baker for a little bit here. Not really about anything, just seeing how he was going. Stockpiling picks. They got 11 in total, and the Packers are only losing 4 starters in free agency. So, like, they have that core together. Maybe they don't want to have to take a guy at 25. Maybe they don't love anybody. You trade back a little bit, and again, you continue to build for the future, which is what they've kind of been doing overall. So to me, this is why the Raiders have to trade up to 25. You got to jump in front of Tampa Bay in case Baker Mayfield doesn't decide to go back there, because then obviously the Bucs are going to be looking at a team. So a trade idea that I threw together here was this one. Raiders get pick 25. The Packers, they receive your second-round pick at 44, your third-round pick at 77. You're also going to give them a seventh-round pick, and then we're going to just throw in Ja'Cory Bennett. So one of the big needs for Green Bay this year is corner. So by throwing this one in, it helps the Raiders go in and then the back half of the first round. If anybody wants to party with Jeremy Chuggs and I on Sunday, I can't even believe the big game's right around the corner here. Go to chatsports.com/biggame. We were literally just at the Ahern showroom. I'm telling you right now, man, it's freaking beautiful. And they told us we might be able to get 120 people in this thing, and it's almost sold out. So if you were like, man, I don't know if I was going to go, get your tickets now. It's chatsports.com/biggame. From what I understand, both VIP and regular ticket are still available. So you could go get them right now. They got boots. They have what, Jeremy? 70 boots? 70 freaking boots of this thing. Homemade Fireball. They are doing it big time. It's going to be a hell of a time. Executive Chef made the Fireball. We tried it. It's knock your socks off good, I'll tell you that. So go to chatsports.com/biggame, BIGGAME. Hope to see you there. It's going to be a movie. Let's go to the final one here. It's pick number 28, the Buffalo Bills. And the reason why, to me, the Raiders would try to figure out a way to trade up with Buffalo is because the Detroit Lions, they pick at 29. And, yes, they have their guy in Jared Goff, but is he their long-term option? I do still think that that could be up in the air a little bit. Yeah, they have Hendon Hooker, but he's also had some injury issues. What if the Detroit Lions like a quarterback, right? So LV's got to trade up in front of them. They don't want Bo Nix to go there. Maybe Michael Penix Jr., another option. But the Bills are always going to be aggressive. And I think the Bills' biggest need is that wide receiver. Gabe Davis, he's going to be a free agent. And if you're Josh Allen, you need another go-to receiver, somebody that's a little bit more reliable, because realistically, with Stephon Diggs, he started to fall off a little bit. I liked what I saw from Khalil Khalil, something like that. But they need another possession receiver. That's something that Josh Allen really missed out on. So let's go with this one here. Raiders get pick number 28. Jacoby Myers goes to Buffalo, and then 44. The Bills might still want just a little bit more to add on top of this, but you're looking at a Buffalo team that where they're currently at, I actually think that them adding a dude like Jacoby, who is a top 32 receiver, I would say, in the NFL, helps them more now than just adding another draft pick. So let's roll through the final three trades here that I showed you, and this is, again, the trade-up scenarios. You go up and get a quarterback. Which was your favorite? If it's the first one here with the Los Angeles Rams, type number 4. If it was the Green Bay Packers trade here, type number 5. Or if it was the Bills trade that I just showed you, I want you to type 6. And shit, man, if you make it this far in the video, I want people to be able to interact with me. The amount of people that I've met here at Media Row that have come up to me and say, what you guys have built here on the Raiders Report, the connection that you guys have with your fans, It's freaking awesome. And it really is. So if you made it this far, give me your trade ideas. Give me some of your thoughts on what the Raiders could do ending up in the draft and staying update on all things going on around Super Bowl, Media Day. A lot of good stuff coming out. Twitter, Instagram, at Mitchell Renz 365.